Tiger football here on KCOU, presented by El Rancho. OU up 3-0, and now the Sooners with a chance to add to it at the Missouri 44-yard line.
Yeah, Missouri going forward on 4th down and 1. They don't get it. That's a big gamble right there, especially in a low-scoring game. And they try to give it to their best player in Luther Burden. But this Oklahoma defense, I mean, they have shown so much resiliency, especially in a difficult season for them, for their standards. Only one SEC win so far, but this defense has looked energized throughout. And so far tonight, I mean, they have just overpowered Missouri's offense.
Well, 10:47 here to go second quarter. This might be a spot you take the shot here on the Missouri side of the field. They'll start with Arnold in the gun. Tatum Taylor, the back to the left hip of Arnold. Stands in on 1st and 10 from the Missouri 44. He takes the snap. He fakes the handoff, now throws out to Farouk in the flat, who barely catches his balance at the 45, now angling towards the 40 and shoved out of bounds. Rather harshly, might I add, by Sidney Williams. Gain of 4 there on 1st down.
Yeah, Jaleel Farouk getting involved. He broke his foot in week 1, had to have surgery tonight, his first game back, so it's going to be interesting to see the usage for him as he gets involved right there. The foot looks just fine. But a good play by the Missouri defense.
2nd and 6 for the Sooners. Arnold takes the snap. He keeps running right, plenty of room. 35-30, 25-20, and run out of bounds by Nick DeLoach right there at the 20-yard line, and the Sooners back in the red zone.
I don't think anybody in the stadium knew that Jackson Arnold still had that ball. I thought he handed it off. The entire Missouri defense broke towards the line thinking he handed off, and they moved quickly.
1st down 10 now for the Sooners at the Missouri 20. Working from the right hash on 1st and 10. Arnold in the gun. Takes the snap. Takes the handoff, now trying to throw. Rolling right, gets away from Walker. Now to the 20 and runs out of bounds there at about the 19-yard line. Good pursuit there, chased out of bounds by Corey Flagg.
He ends up not getting a whole lot on that play, but Johnny Walker had the opportunity for the sack, and Arnold was quick with his feet to avoid that sack. They're really heavy with these fake handoffs for this Oklahoma offense.
Little RPO there. Good job by Missouri to cover it. They'll mark him at the 20, so it will be 2nd down and 10 now for the Sooners. It's Missouri trying to get lined up here. OU with some motion as well. Arnold in the gun. Still it's Taylor to his left hip on 2nd and 10 from the Missouri 20-yard line. Takes the snap. Hands to Sharp, the tight end, running right. Tries to reverse field and taken down to the 25. Chuck Hicks able to chase him down. Bauer Sharp's quick, but he's not that fast on his feet.
Yeah, and a little shove after the play by Bauer Sharp on Chuck Hicks. That's
Hicks
your reaction.
was in his ear, too.
That's your reaction. And for Bauer Sharp, I mean, he pretty much just loses his footing. Chuck Hicks will get credited with the tackle, but Sharp was going down either way.
The ball just past the Missouri 24-yard line. Oklahoma needs their 10 here on 3rd down. Trying to punch it into the end zone this time. 2 receivers either way. Arnold working from the left hash. He takes the snap. Missouri brings 5, throws quickly over the middle, completed the 18-yard line, and immediately brought down by Dalen Carnell. And again, some more talking after the play. That was Deion Bergson on the reception.
Yeah, there's Deion Bergs, the other guy that they got back. The Purdue transfer, having a big season before he suffered a soft tissue injury in late September against Tennessee. He is back, and this one gets the reception, but it's not enough for the 1st down, and on comes the field goal unit once again.
So Zach Sharp, 4 for 4 on the season. He'll try this one from inside the inside the right hash. Schmidt 5 for 5 on the season, 1 for 1 on the day. This one from 35. Chance to make it 6-0 Oklahoma. Snaps away, hold is good, kick is up, and he drilled it once again. So with 7:58, Oklahoma takes a 6-0 lead, but again, Missouri able to stop them inside the red zone. We'll step aside. Again, Oklahoma 6, Missouri nothing. This is Tiger Football on KCOU, presented by... Yeah, it definitely is a strange setup, and I mean, you look down the rest of that schedule, and maybe outside of a home date against New Mexico, there's really not a game that you feel absolutely Auburn's a heavy favorite in. But, I also look at that schedule, and, I look at, 6 games Auburn could still very much win, especially based on the way they've played. I'm curious if you've talked to them at all. A lot's been made in the media circus, and, this is always what happens about the relationship between Hugh Freeze and Peyton Thorne. But it seems like from his perspective, he's still very confident in his head coach. There was all this discussion about the 4th and 1. Where's he at mentally, and how do you think he's been preparing for this game?
I think he's been frustrated with the start of this season as well. I mean, he's the one that talked about it after the Arkansas loss, that He felt that Auburn was the better football team out there, and that was no disrespect to Arkansas. And there's no question that Arkansas team has improved as this season has gone along. And you know what? If I'm an Auburn, if I'm part of the Auburn family, I want my coach to think that we're winning those ball games. I want him to believe that we are the better team out there almost every week that Auburn goes out there. So, yeah, listen, there's got to be some frustration there because he thought this team would be better than it is right now. He knows that without turnovers, especially against Cal and Arkansas, Auburn likely wins those games. And Auburn had a two-score lead in the fourth quarter at home against Oklahoma, an opportunity to win a game against a top 25 opponent. And to Oklahoma's credit, it came back and won that game. So, yeah, there's some frustration there. I think there's some frustration that the offense isn't further along than it is at this point. And he keeps getting this question about the 4th and 1 at Georgia, and I think he's kind of ready to be past that at this point. That was supposed to be a different play, giving the ball to Jarquez Hunter. It turned out to be it wasn't. Turned out it was blown up on the play, and that turned out to be, I think, the final turning point. And I think he's tired of answering that question, quite frankly.
I mean, I can imagine.
At this point, yeah.
I can imagine. And really, this is an Auburn team that, you look at any given statistic, they've moved the ball about as well as, a decent portion of this conference. One of the other things that I kind of wanted to hit on is Hugh Freeze talking about giving the ball to Jarquez Hunter more. And certainly I understand that he is one of the better backs in this league. Oklahoma, he's up near 17 carries, but, Arkansas, Cal, Georgia, around kind of that 11, 12, 13 mark. Where's the sweet spot? How many times, especially coming off a bye week, where you got some time to get your body right, when Hugh Freeze is in there talking with Derek Nix about what they want to do running the football, what's the sweet spot where if they say, man, if Hunter can touch it X amount of times, I feel really good about our chances?
I think 20 to 25 times.
Wow.
I think that's a sweet spot for Jarquez Hunter. He only has 78 carries coming into this ball game. It's not as though he has been overused in the least coming into this game. I think, again, not speaking for the head coach, I think we will see more of Jarquez Hunter tomorrow. And I think he is Auburn's best offensive weapon, most established offensive weapon going into this ball game. And I think this is the kind of a game against a Missouri team that has the potential to be a quick strike team with Brady Cook and Theo Weiss and Luther Burden and, all those guys. That I think this is the kind of game that if Auburn can go in and establish the run game and control the clock, I think it's a big fact. I think that's what Vanderbilt did to Missouri with Pavia. And Auburn will see him in that first game in November. And by the way, that's the same quarterback that came into Auburn with New Mexico State last year and beat Auburn. And they did it by controlling the clock in that game. And I just get the sense that has the potential to be a very important factor.
So it will stay with Missouri, except they'll have to inbound it. So a little bit of extra fireworks, but the same result. Ball back to the Tigers in a tie game. 3:10 to go. Honor to work here on offense. He's still scoreless. He kicks left side towards Robinson. Robinson towards Bates in the left corner. Thought about it. Couple dribbles. Now working here on Murray. Kicks back top of the key towards Robinson. Robinson inside 10 on the shot clock. Towards the free throw line. Pull up floater. That one's good. How about that? From Anthony Robinson. Unconventional shot look. He's not been afraid to pull the trigger today. He's now on the score sheet with 2. Tigers with a 2-point lead, 29-27. Inside 3 minutes to go here in the first half. Here's Jalen Murray. Next to Brakefield, the elbow extended. Brakefield, short corner towards Cisse on the right side. Pull up, 10-footer. That one's short. Barely drew iron. And Cisse files Majak under the basket. And it'll be a long walk for the Sudanese Talon, is Majak going to get a chance at the line? Pretty careless foul there from Cisse, although there's a guy to foul on this team. It probably would be Mamor Majak. The first for Cisse, team 7th for Ole Miss, which means the Tigers will now shoot it. 40% on the year is Mamor Majak. Of course, scored his first field goal on Saturday against Mississippi State. Against A&M. That one rims in and out. Majak couldn't get it to go. So no harm, no foul there for Cisse. The other way, here's Jalen Murray. Kicks right wing. Brakefield thought about it. Picks up his dribble. Back top of the key towards Jalen Murray. Jalen working near top of the key on Bates. Kicks right wing to Brakefield. Brakefield trying to find Flanagan, who's posted up on Honor. Brakefield the spin. Pull up from the elbow. That one rims in and out. No good. Tipped around. Controlled by Cisse under the basket. He lost it, though. Fell on the ground. Ball picked up by Anthony Robinson. Robinson quickly in transition. Dumps to Bates. Bates had it stolen away, but picked up by Robinson. Who kicks back up top of the key towards Honor. Tries a deep three from the left side. That one not even close. A little aggressive there from Nick Honor. As could be a chance to slow things down here. Brakefield, though. Pump fake. Into the lane. Kicks back out. Quick movement. Here's Jalen Murray. Ball fake. Now to the paint. Kicks right wing. Wide open is Brakefield for three. That's good. Ole Miss back in front for the first time in a while. They lead 30-29 here with a minute and a half to go. 90 seconds to play here in the first half. Couple of missed opportunities for Missouri, and Ole Miss makes them pay. Here's Honor. He's got a double screen. He uses neither. Kicks out. Tries the left hand. That won't go. Majak's tip won't go either. But Robinson tracks it down, top of the key. Robinson kicks to Shaw. He's got a size advantage. Dumps to Bates. Bates in the lane. Tried to go up. No, it won't go. But Cisse fouled him on the way up. That's his second, team 8th. And Tamar Bates going to get a chance to go back to the free throw line, where he knocked down 2 earlier this afternoon. The Indiana transfer with 4 on the night. Pretty heads-up play there as Shaw was posting up on Jalen Murray, who I think Shaw is about half a foot on. Good cut there by Bates to get the ball as Flanagan left him to go double. So here's Bates from the line. 65 seconds to play here in the first half. First from Bates is up. It rims in and out. 10 free throws for Missouri. They've missed 4 of them. Left a lot of points on the board here in the first half, but nonetheless, they only trail by 1. As Shawnees checks back in for Anthony Robinson. Honor also going to check out. Robinson will stay on. It'll be East, Robinson, Shaw, Bates, and Butler for the Tigers. Here's Bates with another opportunity to tie the game from the free throw line. This one's good. Give him 5 on the afternoon. He's 3 for 4 from the line. So Jalen Murray now a chance to work for the Rebels. Trying to go back in front here as we dip inside, a minute remaining. Jalen Murray on the right wing. Got the switch. Now he can work on Butler. We're dump inside to Brakefield. He works on Butler. Lost it on the way up. Good strip from the freshman. Collected there by Anthony Robinson. As we have mentioned, is aiming to become the first freshman to lead Missouri in steals since Terrence Phillips back in 2016. Here's East. Goes left side to Robinson. They'll kick to Carter. Carter posting up Murray. Spun inside. Had it taken away. Now it's being knocked around. And Jalen Murray tried to save it under the basket on the baseline. They'll say he stepped out of bounds before he could pass the ball. Ball will stay with Missouri on the baseline with 29 seconds on the game clock.
Slate until later this week, but I saw the note where I guess they've sold the most season tickets at Jordan-Hare in the school's history. Amazing.
Yeah. Why? I mean, that fan base doesn't take a lot to get them excited. They certainly love their football.
Tell me what's going on behind the scenes. What are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Yeah, one of the more interesting things that happened today, we talked in the first hour about some of the teams that win. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, Georgia, all teams in that upper echelon of the SEC that plan on being in that playoff come December. I thought one of the more interesting parts of today is we got to hear from SEC head of football officiating, John McDade, talking about some of the big rule changes coming our way in college football this year. Gave us some real insight into the way that this is going to look on game day. Obviously, one of the biggest things coming into the game is the tablets. Just like you see in the NFL every week, the players on the sideline are going to be able to use the tablets to try and, make adjustments in games. Hasn't been a thing before in college football. Sankey announced yesterday the SEC has partnered with Apple. We heard from the Big 12 that they're using Microsoft because that's just what college football needs is more bidding money. But some interesting changes. In the NFL, you're only allowed to look at still photographs. College football, that's not the case. They're going to let you look at live replays, and you can have up to 3 cameras around the stadium. So a lot of different angles. We'll see how that changes. Of course, what happens in games. Also, that's going to go along with the first-year college football instituting player-to-coach communication through the use of the microphone in the helmet. One player on each side of the ball can use that. So some really interesting stuff from him as far as how that's going to be implemented and how things are going to look different this season.
Boy, that is. And we'll get Kelly to react to that. Billy, if we can, Billy Derrick, if we can put Kelly on there. Kelly, when you hear that, how big an advantage is that for the offense?
It's huge when you can go over there and you can look at stuff like that. I can remember when I first went into the league and you were looking at they had those pictures, and now you can get over there on the iPads and stuff. Man, that's huge because you can come right off the field, and if the defense gave you something that you haven't seen in all your studies and all that, you can go and figure out, hey, well, you and the coach can talk about it. Well, we can do this, and maybe we didn't rep that during the week, but we've got some kind of scheme that can take advantage of that. So it's huge being able to do stuff like that. It's huge. I know that they talked about yesterday too, putting stuff in the defensive guys' ears so they can, get it to them quicker. But all the technology that's coming is amazing. It's hands-on. You can get it. You understand what's going on. Like back in the day, you were looking at pictures and sometimes it was hard to see those pictures, but now it's all on the iPad, man. It's a huge advantage.
Billy, give me one more note.
Yeah, they also the horns down was the other big thing that John McDade was faced with. What's that going to look like next year? He was pretty, strong about, laying that there's different categories for something to be unsportsmanlike. He basically said it had to be, flagrantly indecent, it had to be taunting, or it had to just be something that was completely unacceptable. So sounds like for the most part, it's going to be fair game. So long as, let's say you're, not batting down a pass and then staring down the receiver and flashing them at it. So we'll see. We'll see how it adjusts. But it sounds like it's pretty much going to be open season on throwing the horns down. We'll see how of course that looks next season. But Texas, it just feels like finds a way to dominate the storylines. We saw yesterday the Nick Saban quote about them running the conference. From administration standpoint, they really just can't help themselves, and that's going to be something that the NCAA's, or excuse me, that the